Close your eyes. A V8 fires up somewhere in a parking garage. Can you tell if it's a Mustang or a Corvette? What about a flat six versus an inline-six? Here's the thing. Some brands have spent decades engineering a sound so specific that you could identify it blindfolded. Porsche's flat six has that metallic rasp. Ferrari screams like it's perpetually angry. Subaru sounds like it's constantly clearing its throat. But here's where it gets weird. Some of those sounds, completely fake. Pumped through your speakers. Your $80,000 M3 might be lying to you right now. So today, we're breaking down which brands actually own their acoustic signature, how they engineer it, and which ones are just hitting play on a sound file. Let's figure out who wins the audio battle. Okay, quick ground rules. We're talking about engine sound as brand identity, not exhaust modifications, not aftermarket tuning, just what the manufacturer gives you from the factory. And we're judging this on three things: recognition, can you ID it without seeing the badge? Engineering authenticity, is the sound a byproduct of actual mechanical design? Or is it theater? And consistency, does the brand protect that sound across models and generations? Or do they abandon it when trends shift? Now, I'm not a sound engineer. I just spend way too much time in parking garages listening to cars like a total weirdo. But what's fascinating is how much of this is intentional. Brands don't just let physics decide. They tune exhaust systems, they adjust intake routing, they even trademark specific frequencies. Harley-Davidson literally tried to trademark their V-twin potato sound. It didn't work legally, but the point is, sound is identity. Some brands treat it like a signature element. Front fascia energy, but for your ears. Others, they're out here faking it. And we're about to name names. Let's start with the obvious king, Porsche and that flat six. You know the sound, that metallic, mechanical rasp that sounds like a precision instrument having a controlled meltdown. It's not smooth, it's not polite, it's aggressive in a very refined way, if that makes sense. Fire up a 911 GT3, and within 2 seconds, you know exactly what you're hearing. The engine's behind you, it's horizontally opposed, and the exhaust note has this raw, unfiltered quality that no other configuration replicates. Here's why it works. Porsche didn't choose this sound as a marketing move. It's a direct consequence of the Boxer engine layout. Flat six means the pistons oppose each other horizontally, which creates a different firing order and exhaust pulse than a V6 or inline-six. That rasp, that's physics. And Porsche has protected it religiously. They've kept the flat six in the 911 for over 60 years. Even when they went turbo, they tuned the exhaust to preserve that character. It's not just a sound, it's genetic code. Counterpoint. The Cayman and Boxster also use flat sixes, and while they sound similar, they're not quite as aggressive. So even within Porsche, there's a hierarchy. But honestly, if you hear any flat six Porsche and mistake it for something else, you need to recalibrate your ears. Now let's talk BMW's inline-six. This is the complete opposite vibe from Porsche. Where Porsche is raw, BMW is smooth. That inline-six has this creamy, turbine-like quality, almost unnaturally refined. It doesn't bark or rasp, it hums, it builds. It's the sound of engineering polish, and BMW has been perfecting it since the 1930s. The reason it sounds like this? Inline-six engines have perfect primary and secondary balance. All 6 pistons are in a straight line, firing in a sequence that cancels out most vibrations. Add BMW's obsession with intake tuning and exhaust routing, and you get this linear, almost musical crescendo as the revs climb. The E46 M3, the E39 M5, even the modern M3 M40i, they all have this signature smoothness that feels like silk wrapped around a sledgehammer. But here's the thing. That smoothness is also why some people find it boring. It's too refined. There's no drama, no theater. It's the acoustic equivalent of a perfectly tailored suit. Impressive, but not exactly exciting. If you want your engine to sound like it's on the edge of destruction, BMW's inline-six won't give you that, and honestly, fair enough. Not every brand needs to scream. Mercedes-AMG, on the other hand, went full drama. Their V8s, especially the naturally aspirated 6.2-liter M156 and the twin-turbo 4.0 M177, have this deep guttural rumble that feels like controlled violence. It's not smooth like BMW, it's not precise like Porsche, it's theatrical. Cold start an AMG GT and it sounds like it's actively trying to set off car alarms in a 3-block radius. What makes it work? AMG uses a cross-plane crankshaft in their V8s, which creates an uneven firing order. That's what gives you the classic American muscle car rumble. Think Mustang, Corvette, but AMG adds European refinement on top. They also tune the exhaust with specific resonance chambers to amplify that low-end growl. And then there's the pops and crackles on overrun, which are absolutely intentional. Those aren't accidents, they're programmed fuel cuts that ignite in the exhaust. Pure theater. The criticism? It's too much sometimes. The fake pops feel like a teenager discovered the sport mode button, but as a brand signature, it works. You hear an AMG V8, you know exactly what it is. No one's confusing that for a Lexus. Ferrari's sound is probably the most emotional on this list. That high-pitched revving scream, especially in the naturally aspirated V8s and V12s, sounds like the car is in physical pain, and it's glorious. The 458 Italia, the F12, even the 812 Superfast, they all have this ascending wail that peaks around 8,000 or 9,000 RPM and just keeps climbing. It's not comfortable, it's not refined, it's urgent. This comes directly from Ferrari's Formula One heritage. Their engines are designed to rev high and breathe freely, with flat-plane crankshafts in the V8s that create a completely different exhaust note than the cross-plane layout Mercedes uses. Flat plane means the pistons fire evenly, which produces a higher frequency sound, less rumble, more scream, and Ferrari leans into it. They tune the intake and exhaust to emphasize that top-end wail because it communicates one thing: racing. Editing me here, quick correction. The newer turbocharged V8s, like in the 296 GTB, have lost some of that scream. Turbos muffle the sound, and while Ferrari tries to compensate with exhaust tuning, it's not the same. Purists hate it. And honestly, I get it. If you're paying Ferrari money, you want the full sonic experience, not a muted version. If Ferrari is urgent, Lamborghini is apocalyptic. Their V10s and V12s sound like they're trying to tear a hole in reality. The Huracan, the Aventador, these cars don't just make noise, they create presence. You hear one coming from 2 streets away, and it sounds like a fighter jet doing a low flyby. It's absurd. It's excessive. It's perfect. Lamborghini achieves this with large displacement engines, aggressive exhaust tuning, and zero interest in being subtle. The V10 in the Huracan has this raspy metallic edge that sits somewhere between a Formula One car and a chain gun. The V12 in the Aventador is just massive. It's not high-pitched like Ferrari. It's this deep layered roar that has multiple frequencies happening at once. You don't just hear it, you feel it. The trade-off? Lamborghini sound is so over the top that it almost becomes parody. But that's the brand. Subtlety was never the assignment. Here's a wild card: Subaru. They don't make supercars, but their boxer rumble is just as recognizable as anything Ferrari makes. That uneven, burbling idle, it's the Harley-Davidson of car sounds. WRX, STI, even the regular Impreza if it has the turbo, you know that sound instantly. Like Porsche, this comes from the boxer engine layout, but Subaru's rumble has a specific roughness because of their unequal length exhaust headers. Each cylinder's exhaust pulse travels a different distance before merging, which creates that signature syncopated beat. Subaru could have smoothed it out. Equal length headers eliminate the rumble, but they kept it because it became part of the brand identity. Rally heritage, grassroots performance, that whole vibe. Quick side note, newer WRXs have moved to equal-length headers for emissions and efficiency, and the rumble is mostly gone. The community rioted. That's how important sound is. Subaru might have made a more efficient engine, but they lost a signature element. Tough call. Okay, here's where we name names. Some brands, cough, BMW cough, pump fake engine noise through the speakers. I'm not joking. The F80 M3, F90 M5, even the new G80 M3, they all use something called active sound design, which plays synthesized engine sounds through the car's audio system to make the engine seem louder and more aggressive than it actually is. Why? Modern engines are quieter because of turbocharging, sound insulation, and emissions regulations. But customers expect M cars to sound angry, so BMW just fakes it. You can disable it through coding, and when you do, the car sounds noticeably quieter and less dramatic. Some people argue it's enhancing the experience. Realistically, it's artificial flavoring. Volkswagen does the same thing in the GTI with their sound actor system, a speaker in the firewall that amplifies engine noise into the cabin. Audi, Porsche, ironically in some models, and even Ford have dabbled in this. The controversial take? I actually don't hate it if they're upfront about it. But when you're paying 80 grand for an M3 and 40% of the sound is coming from Bluetooth speakers, that feels like a betrayal. At least tell me what I'm buying. If you disagree, if you think fake sound is fine as long as it sounds good, tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to hear the defense. So here's the rule that explains everything. Sound is only a signature if it's tied to something real. Porsche's Flat 6 works because the sound is inseparable from the engine layout. Ferrari's Scream works because it's a consequence of high-revving, naturally aspirated design. Even Subaru's rumble works because it's a mechanical quirk they chose to preserve. But the moment you divorce sound from engineering, the moment it becomes a software feature you can toggle or a speaker trick, it stops being identity. It's just branding. And maybe that's fine for some people. Maybe the experience is all that matters, regardless of how it's created. But I think there's something powerful about knowing the sound you're hearing is real, that it's the byproduct of metal and combustion and physics, not a sound designer in a studio. That's why Porsche's Flat 6 will always feel more authentic than BMW's piped-in theater. One is DNA, the other is makeup. So to wrap this up, which brands own their sound? Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Subaru all have acoustic signatures so strong you could ID them in a blindfold test. BMW and Mercedes have distinct sounds, but they're starting to blend with artificial enhancement. And then there's the fake sound tier, which includes some of those same brands in different models, where the signature is more software than hardware. 3 quick takeaways. 1. Sound is identity, but only if it's rooted in engineering. 2. Not every brand needs a dramatic sound. BMW's smoothness is a valid choice, but pick a lane and commit. And 3. If you're going to fake it, at least be honest about it. We're adults. We can handle the truth. Coming back to the opening, close your eyes. A V8 fires up. Can you tell the difference? If the answer is yes, that brand did their job. If the answer is, wait, is that real or is that the speakers? Well, now you know what to listen for. All right, your turn. Which engine sound is your favorite? Drop a brand below. Porsche, Ferrari, AMG, fake BMW. I want to see who wins this. And if you think I got something wrong, or if there's a brand I missed, tell me. Like the video if you stuck around this long, subscribe if you want more of this stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.